What is up, y'all? It's V2 here. This video is about Doja Cat's self-destruction was intentional. I'm not really sure what she has done recently, but I'm gonna figure that out. Let me know if you think that she's like still considered a rapper or a singer. I try to keep this like straight hip-hop rap, but I know that she rapped at some point anyways. Don't really listen to her music as recently, but like 2014, 2015, before her blow up, like Moo came out, I used to be bumping like No Police, So High, underrated songs that she has that are fire to me. But after that, I just haven't really listened to her. I think the last thing I heard of her was a song that she had with like Jack Harlow. I forget how it goes, but let's get straight to the video and just figure out what she has done. I know she be wildin'.
Back in 2023, you probably remember the chaos surrounding Doja Cat.
In a good way though, because it gives publicity. Well, I think there's some that I like, kind of controversial.
A few weeks she was trending for something, whether it was dissing her fans, shaving her eyebrows, live on Instagram, showing up to events painted head to toe in red, or dropping music videos that had people calling her demonic. The controversy was everywhere, and everyone had an opinion on it. But behind all the chaos, there was something deeper going on, because the more you look at it,
and she started to have like this satanic like look. Another person that's done this recently was like Sam Smith. Like he came out like a regular dude. I didn't even know that nigga the dude was gay, but once he, elevated in his career, he started doing like more sinister stuff. And I don't know, man. I don't know why artists do stuff like that. Maybe they think it's a joke. It is, gets people's attention when you do that. You've seen Lil Nas X do that, but to me, man, you don't play with God. But
especially in hindsight, the more it starts to feel like none of this was random. Maybe Doja Cat wasn't falling apart. Maybe she was breaking free of something. A few years ago, Doja Cat went from one of the most loved artists in pop to one of the most polarizing figures in music. After the massive success of songs like Say So and Woman, she found herself spiraling, both publicly and personally. But what no one really talks about is how all this might have been planned, because the more you look at it, the more it feels like Doja Cat's self-destruction wasn't a meltdown, it was a message. Was it chaos, control, or maybe a little bit of both? And more importantly, was it intentional? Most people were introduced to Doja Cat as this quirky, charismatic artist who could do it all. She could sing, rap, switch genres in an instant, and still keep that sense of humor that made her likable. But somewhere between the fame, the pressure, and the internet noise, something changed. Back in late 2021, we started seeing the early signs of something different. A shift in her behavior, her tone, and even how she interacted with fans. It was strange and erratic, but looking back now, maybe that was the beginning of a new era for Doja Cat.
Was that the time when she had, she was on that video call with these like white dudes, and I forget how it went down, but I know it was something kind of weird, and I don't know if she was considered a racist for it. I don't remember.
The first signs of Doja Cat's intentional self-destruction go back to late 2021. I actually made a video on it back then, and it was a story about when she went on Instagram Live and opened up about how unhappy she was with her time in the music industry.
I love fashion, I do, I really do. I love to dress up, I love all that shit. Do I want to do that because I have to? No, but I feel pressured to do shit like that. I don't want to do that. I want to be home. I want to make music. I want to play video games.
At the time, Doja talked about how she was fed up with everything. The pressure, the interviews, the photo shoots, and the expectations that came with fame. And even though she got a lot of support for being...
I feel like I wouldn't be a fan of all that stuff either. Like, I'll probably be the type to just want to lay low, chill. But, when you up there, you gotta make sacrifices. So,
being open about her struggles, she also faced heavy criticism from people calling her ungrateful. Essentially, it looked like she was going through a phase of burnout. She was one of the biggest new artists in the world at that point, constantly in the spotlight, dealing with the pressure of having to keep up the momentum she had built up. But that burnout eventually turned into something else, because not long after that, Doja Cat made it clear that she was done trying to please everyone but herself. And that same image that made her successful was in the process of being broken down. It all came to a head in March 2022 during what's now known as the Paraguay incident. Doja Cat was scheduled to perform at the Asuncionico festival in Paraguay, but that event got cancelled because of extreme flooding and thunderstorms. And so Doja Cat didn't perform, and that's when everything started spiraling. After tweeting about her next show in Brazil, a fan replied, Not a single photo in Paraguay, not a single tweet, not a single Instagram story. You made us empty. Doja responded saying, I'm sorry. But when another fan posted a meme labeling her as public enemy number 1, she replied, I'm not sorry. And that one moment flipped everything. Within hours, Doja Cat is over party was trending. Fans accused her of being heartless, of ignoring people who waited
It's given Kanye.
outside her hotel in the storm. And some fans even spread a fake screenshot claiming that Doja Cat had liked a tweet mocking Paraguayans. And then came the tweet that blew everything up. This shit ain't for me, so I'm out. Y'all take care. Doja Cat then changed her Twitter name to I Quit. And for a moment, it really looked like she meant what she was saying.
This is the Doja Cat people don't know about, bro. You feel me?
At that point, she wasn't really just having a bad PR week. She was collapsing, or it looked like she was collapsing, under the weight of everyone's expectations. Because while other artists like Machine Gun Kelly were doing pop-up shows from their hotel balconies to comfort fans, Doja Cat was getting ripped apart online for not showing the same energy. But this was deeper than a missed concert. It seemed like this was Doja Cat reaching her breaking point in her popularity. And that night in Paraguay, when she said I quit, was one of the defining moments where she stopped being everyone's new favorite pop star. By mid-2023, Doja Cat's relationship with her fans completely fell apart. At this point,
she's taking a risk, but I feel like she's still like mentioned, like she's still relevant.
It wasn't about burnout anymore. This was Doja Cat declaring war on the same people who had built her up. It all started when fans began criticizing her relationship with a man accused of predatory behavior. And these weren't random haters, these were her own supporters. The same people who had been with her since day one. They wanted Doja Cat to respond, but instead of ignoring it, Doja Cat started blocking the people who brought it up. And when one fan page called her out, she replied, I don't give a F. What you think about my personal life? Goodbye and good riddance. Miserable hoes. So Doja Cat was responding in this extremely harsh tone against the people who supported her, right? So that's when things took a little turn. Because this time it wasn't the internet attacking Doja Cat, it was her attacking the internet, but fighting with her fans in the public. From there, everything snowballed. On Threads, a fan...
Yo, shout out Black These Beats, but these edits look crazy, gang. It was grabbing my attention, though.
And commented asking her to say she loved her supporters. And Doja Cat replied, I don't though, because I don't even know y'all. Another fan reminded her that they'd supported her from the start, saying she'd be nothing without them. And Doja Cat fired back by saying, nobody forced you. She does have a point. When some of her fans, who calls themselves, or I think she calls them, I'm not sure, kittens,
kind of an asshole, yo.
try to explain that it was a name she originally gave them, she said, if you call yourself a kitten, you need to get off your phone, get a job, and help your parents with the house. That's when people realized Doja Cat wasn't pretending anymore. I mean, the filter was just gone and she was literally like bam, 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 firing off shots at her own fans. So Doja Cat essentially decided to burn the bridge between her and her fan base intentionally. And these were the people who made her viral, streamed her songs, defended her name whenever she was in any type of controversial story. Now she was rejecting them, all of them. Looking back, it's very easy to see what was actually happening. Doja Cat, from my perspective, was dismantling the pop star machine she had built. The same image that made her rich and adored had become a cage, and she was ready to destroy it, even if it meant turning everyone against her. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was brutal. This wasn't just noise on a timeline. Doja Cat was...
I hope she dropped the album around this time because like I feel like this is like strange marketing that would low-key work for some reason, but
essentially beefing with her own fans. It began with the allegedly predatory boyfriend controversy and a handful of posts. Then came the blocks, the replies, the tone, the responses. And suddenly a lot of the same people who had built her up started walking away. Major fan pages deactivated, longtime supporters announced breaks. On Instagram alone, she dropped hundreds of thousands of followers in a matter of days, actually. Not career ending, but loud enough to prove the point. People were done being talked down to. And here's the thing, Doja Cat didn't owe anyone a statement about her personal life. What made this spiral wasn't that she responded, it was how she responded. Don't love you, nobody forced you, get a job. Obviously that energy hit hard in a lot of her fans who had been supporting her this entire time. And underneath all this was the same dynamic that makes celebrities what they are. Parasocial relationships. Fans invest time, emotion, and money and start to feel connected to a person who doesn't actually know them. Most of the time it works until the illusion breaks. In 2023, Doja Cat broke it on purpose. So the fan base fractured. Some stayed for the music. Others moved on, realizing the version of Doja Cat that they loved wasn't coming back. instead of apologizing or smoothing things over, Doja Cat decided to double down. She stopped speaking to her audience in the way she used to, and
I'm not a fan of it. It's like, you wouldn't be where you are without them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe she's trying to put out this image where it's like, it's raw. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do whatever I want, and if you like me, you like me. If you don't, like, fuck off. Pretty much is what it kind of gives off. But like, responding to those fans that way, I feel like was just a little unnecessary. You feel me?
became more distant as time went on. And that's when she entered her demonic era. Doja Cat turned all the controversy that had been piling up into fueling her music by dropping Paint the Town Red. Now, Paint the Town Red became a smash hit and it hit #1 on the Billboard charts. The song and video are open to interpretation, but my analysis is that it's a symbol of refusing to play inside the box people try to lock her inside. The devil wasn't literal, or maybe it was literal. I don't really know, right? To me, it was a character. In other words, the villain she'd become in other people's stories, now claimed on her own terms. What Doja Cat went through has often been compared to the phase Britney Spears went through in her career. In the late 90s, a 16-year-old Britney Spears exploded with Baby One More Time and became the face of teen pop. She dominated the early 2000s with songs that defined an entire generation. However, less than a decade later, the narrative around her completely flipped. Britney went from being America's sweetheart to a tabloid spectacle, attacking paparazzi with an umbrella, shaving her head in public, and visibly unraveling under the pressure. Those incidents, along with the relentless media scrutiny, eventually led to welfare checks and psychiatric holds in early 2008. She later explained it herself. "Shaving my head and acting out were my ways of pushing back," she said in her memoir, The Woman in Me. Now, when Doja Cat shaved her eyebrows, the reaction was almost identical: confusion, concern, and criticism. But even though her reasons were different, the message was similar. Doja Cat said that she was simply tired of maintaining her hair, tired of the pressure to always look perfect.
"I just do not like to have hair. I remember feeling so exhausted with working out. Like, whenever I went to go train, I had a trainer at one point, and I'd be wearing wigs and they would be tacky. They'd re-tack because of the moisture, but I couldn't focus because I was more concerned with how I looked and how my hair was doing and how to keep it adhered to my scalp."
Because at the end of the day, it wasn't just about hair, it was about image. And in her case, it was about rejecting the beauty standards that the music industry constantly tries to box women into. Because for years, Doja Cat felt like she had been a slave to that image. The flawless pop star, the playful and funny internet girl, the beauty standard everyone either wanted to be or be with. Women admired the look and men sexualized it. And through all that, she became more of a brand than a person. So when she shaved her head and eyebrows, it wasn't just a haircut. It was an act of rebellion, a way of saying, you don't get to own my image anymore. I think there's something about an artist wanting to break the rules when they realize that everyone's already decided who they're supposed to be, because once people label you, it's like they stop seeing who you actually are and they just see the version of you that fits their expectations. And Doja Cat has always been hard to categorize. She's always been seen as too weird for the mainstream pop world, too pop for hip hop, too alternative for R&B. She's really, always been in this in-between.
Yeah, to me, Doja Cat's always been in her own lane. That's why I was so confused to even consider her she a rapper, she a pop artist.
That's part of why she's always been an outcast in the black community, right? A lot of people have never really seen her as someone who fully stood in her blackness, and that perception alone has followed her wherever she's went. And obviously the chat
forget she black
room controversy didn't help that image either. But even before that, a lot of people didn't really.
You see, I think that's about what I was remembering with her on some FaceTime call with some dudes, bro. Let me know what it was. Anyone who watches this video
know where to place her. And for what it's worth, I think Doja Cat has definitely given a place to those people who always felt like they didn't fit anywhere, the ones who never saw themselves in the polished version of pop culture, the weird kids, the misfits, the ones who never played by the rules. I think Doja Cat made those people feel seen. And in a lot of ways, that's what made her popular. Because aside from just her talent, people connected with how unpredictable she always was. She represented freedom in a space that's obsessed with control. And after all the controversy, she actually took a step back to regroup and find herself amidst the noise. And just recently, she dropped an album that didn't make as much noise as I thought it would, but It feels like she's starting to feed back into the same fan base, just in her own way. I honestly think that the way Doja Cat played the entire controversial era was more intentional than it looked. She leaned into being the villain because maybe that was the only way she felt like she could reclaim her story. But that's just what
It's a risk. Hopefully, it doesn't damage her career like permanently, but it's unique in a sense. I just feel like, just coming at fans. I don't think that part is necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do that through interviews. You can do that through music, or with the way she wants to come out. In terms of just like, no one can hold me down, and I could do whatever I want, and you know what I'm saying? Y'all get it. You feel me? So, hope you guys mess with the video. Comment, like, and subscribe. And till next time, for sure.